911, what's your emergency?
My friend just called and said she thinks she has to go to the hospital, and then the phone went dead, and I'm racing over there myself.
And she was conscious?
Well, she was. She's not answering her phone.
What's her name?
Her name is Justine Siemens.
How old is she?
39. We've been friends for like 10 years.
On January 24th, 2023, 40-year-old Angie Miller called the police while on her way to her friend Justine Siemens' house. Earlier that night, Justine had called Angie to say she needed to go to the hospital. Worried for her friend, Angie rushed over, never expecting the horror she was about to encounter.
Okay, let's see. Oh, here it is. I am pulling up. Hold on, I'm going to go to the door right now and see what's going on. Justine, are you in here?
Do you hear anything in there?
I don't. Justine, are you in here?
Are you inside now?
I can't do that, no.
Justine rarely locked her doors, but when Angie arrived and found the front door locked, alarm bells started ringing. She couldn't get through after knocking several times, so she circled around to the back door. It was there she was going to realize something was seriously wrong.
Justine!
Are you
oh my God, she's screaming. Come in!
They're on their way, okay?
Okay.
As soon as Justine heard Angie outside the door, events took a wilder turn. Justine started screaming and banging on something as if desperate to escape whatever was inside the house. Angie ran around to break in any way she could, afraid she might not make it in time to help her friend.
Justine!
But then there was dead silence. Moments later, a man exited out of the front door, someone Angie had met a few days ago. He was a man in his mid-30s whom Justine was dating. But this meeting was going to be very short, as in the next moment, he was about to pull a trick Angie could never have expected.
What's going on?
You're inside now?
Oh, she is? She said she's having a heart attack. Why didn't you have an ambulance coming?
Okay, so what's going on there?
The dog's taken off that was here. Justine? Justine, I'm right here, baby. I'm right here. Where are you? Oh my God. Blood everywhere. Oh God, hurry. Please hurry. I'm right here, honey. No.
When Angie finally got in, it became clear that a heart attack was not behind Justine's screams. In fact, Angie realized she'd entered the house of torture.
Where are you? There's a nurse around his neck. Oh my God. The bruises all over. Justine? Oh my God, honey, they're coming. Ambulance is coming, honey.
Lieutenant Jeff Hattersley was immediately on his way to the house of Justine.
All I know is that 30-year-old female, believed to be conscious, is screaming, "Help me."
Even before reaching the crime scene and while on a call with Angie, investigators had their person of interest, the man who was seeing Justine. Angie also hinted that there was something shady about his past.
Please hurry.
Okay, they're coming fast.
This crazy psycho guy has done this in Vegas before.
Do you know who he is?
I know who he is, though, and he's got a bad record for beating people.
Is he conscious right now?
No.
As the detective reached the crime scene, he was met by petrified Angie. But the true horror was hidden inside the laundry room.
Hello? Who's all in the house?
Just her now.
Okay, is she okay?
She had ropes around her throat. And she's
Okay, just go and stand right here for me, okay? What's her name?
Justine.
Go ahead and send in medical.
I've seen very few scenes as horrific and terrible as this one was. It was obvious that Justine had really been tortured and hurt badly.
Justine's body was covered with bruises, both fresh and old. It seemed the torture had gone on for more than a couple of days. She sustained traumatic brain injuries. Almost all of her teeth were beaten out and her face was punched in. Strangulation marks were visible on her neck. Justine was to be rushed to the hospital immediately while making sure they were really alone in the house. Their next step was to get as much information as they could from Angie, specifically about the man who was there before her and slipped away as his girlfriend lay dying.
Let's be very careful with evidence, please.
The victim, Justine, she was unconscious. She wasn't responding. She was transported to a hospital in Medford.
What is that crazy guy's name that Justine was seeing? Benjamin what?
Okay, slow it down a little bit.
Benjamin Obadiah Foster.
Are they in a boyfriend-girlfriend
Yes.
relationship? How long have they been dating?
Couple months.
What was he wearing tonight?
Well, he just has a little weird ponytail. I saw that. I know it's him because I just met him a few days ago.
She said the name was the name she gave me because they've looked him up. She has all the rap sheets out of Clark County. That was the one that I name scanned. Benjamin Foster. Good.
When they cross-checked the information Angie had provided, they did come across a 36-year-old man, Benjamin Foster, with a suspicious history around women. Alarmingly, his past assault shared striking similarities with what had happened to Justine. With Benjamin now on the run, Justine was the only one who could reveal the full truth. Sadly, the chances of that happening seemed slim.
AMR is getting ready to transport to the hospital. They're actually talking about intubation. She's got severe injuries to the face.
Oh, God, what I walked into here, I sure didn't expect. Good God.
Justine was hospitalized, but she wasn't conscious and she was in a fragile state. Doctors believed she would not make it through. She'd sustained severe brain injuries, which had left her in a vegetative state while their prime suspect was on the run.
This type of incident, it shouldn't be happening in Grants Pass, Oregon. I was really, really worried. We were concerned about our community. We know we have to get this man into custody. What if he does it to somebody else?
Ben Foster had been identified and had fled from the scene prior to the officer's arrival. We needed to capture this suspect so that he didn't victimize anyone else.
All right. Come on out for me here.
Who are you? You Ben? That looks like him. We're gonna confirm who you are. If you're not the guy we're looking for, we're gonna let you go, okay?
It's not him.
No one knew how far this man was willing to go, or who might be his next target. The first priority was clear. They had to find him and bring him in, no matter where he was hiding.
In southern Oregon, a manhunt is underway.
If you see any hitchhikers, please call 911 and don't pick them up, okay?
On January 25th, 2023, a state-level manhunt was organized to extract Benjamin Foster from his hideout. The detectives of Oregon did not yet know all the places, both physical and mental, this week was going to take them.
We actually called in more resources to help this manhunt for Ben. We had reached out to the U.S. Marshals as well to assist in this. And then it was basically every detective within the Grants Pass Police Department going through every open source piece of information, social media, prior addresses in those open sources, trying to find out a place that he hid.
On the first day, police retraced Benjamin's steps all the way to his childhood. They were expecting him to reach out to someone he trusted, beginning with his parents.
When was the last time you saw Ben or talked to him?
8 o'clock last night. He came in.
Whirlwind.
A whirlwind, yeah. And just took out boatloads of clothing. And I'm going, well, are you moving in with Justine?
I'm not going to get into great detail, but Justine is in the hospital. And she is in really, really, really bad shape.
Oh my God.
Well, that's what happened in Vegas.
If you guys have contact with Benjamin, it is in his best interest to contact the police and turn himself in because everybody is looking for him right now.
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't try to head back to Vegas.
Yeah?
Yeah. You know, something snapped in him. I don't know what, but it really breaks our heart.
While Benjamin's parents were fully cooperative, they had no idea where their son might be. But detectives wouldn't be left in the dark for long. The next day, a crucial lead emerged, changing the course of the investigation.
On Thursday, January 26th, we received the tip through our narcotics detectives that Ben Foster was in the Sunny Valley area. We set up a surveillance in Sunny Valley, and Ben Foster was observed outside the residence.
Get cover right here.
The residence belonged to a woman named Tina Jones, and the twist was, She had been a longtime friend of Benjamin's family. Detectives now wondered, was Benjamin hiding out here? And more importantly, did Tina know what he was so desperately running from?
We pre-deployed scout teams to get at least eyes on the house with binoculars to see if they could see anything.
As it turned out, Benjamin was one step ahead of the officers. The dogs on the property had alerted him to unusual activity nearby, giving him just enough time to react. And before the officers could make their move, Benjamin took a shocking step.
Ben begins doing counter surveillance. He climbed up on the roof of Tina's house with a set of binoculars. Then he came down and started doing ground property checks and ultimately spots one of the surveillance guys that are in the bushes and then takes off running.
He went right up through there.
Up that way?
Yeah, right across up through there. Straight to your left. Track him through there.
He's wearing blue jeans and a camo jacket.
A handful of officers from every agency that were up there gave chase and then saw him go down an embankment.
He knows where he's going. Yeah, he could be to the freeway now. Oh, easily, easy.
Unfortunately, we lost visual contact with him. Our hearts just dropped because this dangerous man we felt had gotten away.
The investigators were this close to apprehending Benjamin, yet he'd slipped away. It was a major setback, and they were going to regret it even more in the near future. They decided to search the property for any clue that could help them connect with Benjamin again, and before long, they located Tina.
This is Tina. She's been read her rights. We're not trying to make this inconvenient, but when you harbor a fugitive, I mean, we don't really have a choice. What? That he was. Okay, we have reason to believe that you harbored him and helped him tamper with evidence.
After taking Tina into custody, detectives began searching the house. Although Benjamin managed to escape, it appeared that in his rush to flee, he'd left behind all of his essential belongings.
During the search of Tina's house, found a small light travel backpack that when we opened it had Ben's wallet in there, had his ID, a large amount of cash. We found a tablet and a laptop that both had the camera covered.
It looked like he had kind of assembled a go bag, the kit, to get ready to flee out of state and flee out of the area.
We found multiple cell phones, but every phone was wrapped in tinfoil. Everything that had any kind of electronic communication was wrapped in tinfoil. Just exhibited this extreme paranoia that he was being tracked.
But paranoia was definitely not keeping Benjamin from finding his next target. He was on an active lookout for his next victim. This meant every second he remained free, another life could be in danger. Both for the police and for the people of Grant Pass, the fear was growing. Without any other lead, the detectives decided to dig deeper into his past to find out who exactly was Benjamin Foster.
We learned that Benjamin Foster was involved in multiple incidents in Las Vegas and had a lot of similarities to what occurred here in Grants Pass.
Benjamin Obadiah Foster, 36 years old, lived a life largely unknown before his name made headlines. He kept a low profile, but when they dug into his past, a chilling pattern emerged. Detectives already knew Justine's case wasn't a random act of violence. Benjamin was a serial abuser with a troubling history. But what they didn't yet realize was the sheer brutality he had inflicted even in the past. The deeper they dug, the darker it got. What they were about to uncover would become one of the most disturbing revelations of the entire case. It all started with Benjamin's first known ex-girlfriend, Amber. She began dating Benjamin in June 2012, unaware she would become his first known victim. This marked the start of a disturbing pattern. The warning signs appeared early. In November 2014, a seemingly casual fight between them escalated. Benjamin was arrested and ordered to attend domestic violence counseling and perform community service, if only that helped.
Within a few months of Ben's arrest, he was let out of jail, and unbeknownst to me, he had started stalking me.
Amber pulled up to find Benjamin outside her car, screaming at her. He drove the knife into her side, leaving her bleeding and in shock. She managed to break free and ran, bloodied and panicked, to the leasing office. Staff called the police, but by the time they arrived, Benjamin had already twisted the scene in his favor. Amber cut all ties after that night, She'd barely escaped with her life, but she was only the beginning. Benjamin had already set his sights on someone new. For the next woman who swiped right on Benjamin Foster wouldn't be as lucky.
Metro Police. Hi, this is Marie calling from Mountain View Emergency Room. I need to report an assault and like a kidnapping kind of a thing. She won't tell me the name of the person who assaulted her, but she says he kidnapped her, kept her in her house, tied her up. I guess he has her dog, her phone, her car, and the keys and stuff like that.
Okay. When he moved in, we had probably been seeing each other a little over a year and a half. It wasn't too long after that where things started getting a little crazy. One day, I was trying to reason with him. He came up from behind me and slammed me on the ground. It was completely unexpected. I was so shocked. By September, Ben had already attacked me quite a few times, and every time he would attack me, it would be worse the next time and worse the next time.
By September 2019, Jamie had finally had enough. She decided to file for a restraining order against Benjamin. She sat outside her apartment for hours, too terrified to go inside. But exhaustion took over, and with nowhere else to go, she finally gathered the courage to knock.
So when I walked into the door, I went straight to my room and laid down and passed out. When I woke up, he was sitting on top of me. He had one hand holding both my arms behind my back, and he started shaving my head with the clippers. Shaved my head bald.
She thought the worst was over, but this was just the start.
I wasn't allowed to go anywhere out of his sight. When we slept, I would either sleep tied up or he'd be behind me and have a gun to my head. He stripped me naked so I couldn't hide anything or have anything on me. I did not have access to my phone.
For 16 days, the apartment became a torture house for Jamie, and the world had no idea the horrors she was enduring. But then Benjamin stepped out for a quick trip to the grocery store. It was the moment Jamie had been praying for, her only shot at freedom.
We go to the first grocery store, and it's right down the road. It's a small grocery store. I was super scared at that moment. I was thinking maybe I'll be able to get away. I unbuckled my seatbelt, and I jumped out of the car really quick, and I ran. I didn't have my phone. I didn't have any money. So I ran inside the store, and I'm frantic. I ran out the back door, and there was a guy sitting in his car, and he was like, "Are you okay?" And he's just like, "Do you need a ride to the hospital?" I was like, "Yes, take me to the hospital." When I got to the hospital, I was treated for 7 broken ribs, 2 black eyes, had bruises all over my body, lacerations all over my body, cauliflower ears, and damage to both my eyes.
Hi, Jamie. I'm Officer Casper. This is Officer Singh, here to talk to you. Hi. We need to know the story about what happened, what brought you here. We need to know information about him. We're not the other officers that helped you out or that you dealt with before.
I mean, I don't know how old you are. I never knew it. This has never happened to me before.
We are going to do everything we can to help you with this. And to do that, we need to know who this person is.
They had her statement. They had the evidence. But the one thing they didn't have was him. By the time they reached there, he was gone. They issued a search warrant, and soon after, Benjamin was arrested. He was charged with battery, domestic violence, kidnapping, and a few more charges.
I didn't want to go to trial. I did not want to show up in that courtroom. I did not want to do that. It wasn't just fear of testifying. It was having to sit in a room with him and having to feel that again. So the DA cut him a deal.
The Clark County District Attorney combined the cases of Amber from 2017 and Jamie from 2019. Foster pleaded guilty to lesser domestic charges in both cases. He was sentenced to 30 months of jail credit for 729 days served. But Jamie wasn't the only one living in fear. While he was with her, Benjamin had reached into his past, dragging someone else back into his twisted game.
In December 2017, I get a text message from Ben, and it's a novel of him explaining that he's been going to therapy, and one of the steps that he's taken is trying to make amends with people that he's hurt. We started speaking on a regular basis through text again, and we had begun hanging out again.
By Christmas Eve 2017, Amber realized people don't change easily. While getting changed, she left her phone in the living room. When she returned, Benjamin attacked from behind, strangling her until she blacked out. When she woke up, she ran to the first car she saw. A stranger let her in, giving Amber the chance to finally escape the nightmare. It was from inside that car that Amber made this desperate 911 call.
911 emergency. Police, please. My ex-boyfriend attacked me. I'm in a stranger's car with no shoes on.
What did he do?
Grabbed me by the throat, strangled me, slammed me on the ground. I have some scratches, like deep scratches on my hands that are bleeding.
What is his name?
His name is Benjamin Foster. This is not the first time this has happened.
Benjamin got out in October 2021 from custody, just 2 years after assaulting Jamie. But his victims weren't free. They were still trapped in fear of him coming back and finishing what he'd started. And that fear became a reality for Justine in January 2023. This time, Benjamin had done what he couldn't do with the others. The deep dive in Benjamin's past completely changed the police's understanding of the threat they faced in the present with Justine.
Hey, Tommy. This crazy psycho guy has done this in Vegas before.
Do you know who he is?
I know who he is, though, and he's got a bad record for beating people.
I spoke to police and the detectives, and then me and my cousin went straight to the hospital.
As the search for Benjamin continued, Justine's condition wasn't getting any better. Even doctors held little hope that she'd ever open her eyes again.
Justine was completely like in a coma and just so beaten, so brutalized. All I wanted was just for her to wake up. It's all I wanted, you know?
But the greatest heartbreak for Justine's loved ones was knowing that the man responsible for her condition was still out there, walking free.
I don't know how he ever got turned loose on Oregon to brutalize my friend like that.
From one of the cell phones recovered from Tina, detectives uncovered a vital clue.
When that cell phone was accessed, we discovered that dating apps had been accessed. He may have been using dating apps potentially to get assistance in fleeing from the state or to target potential victims.
Fearing that more women could fall into his trap and deeply concerned for public safety, detectives released the information to the media.
And we are back with our national lead and the race to find a man who police say may be using dating apps to lure and then attack women.
It was a dry season of leads as the fugitive apprehension team kept trying to get a hold of Benjamin, but all leads led them to dead ends. For the next couple of days, a rotating group of people kept looking at Sunny Valley for him. Internally, they kept coming back to the person who last saw him, Tina.
I remember just trying to talk with my partners, like, what am I missing here? What is some other tools, some other resource that we can have? I interviewed Tina at the jail because we were concerned that she knew where Ben Foster was. She had told us he'd showed up the night of the 24th, said, hey, I got in a fight with my parents, can I stay here? And they all go to the same church in Sunny Valley. And so she said, yeah, you stay here, and allowed him to park the car there. She said that she didn't really know that he was on the run from law enforcement.
Since the beginning, Tina had been trying to convince the police that she didn't know anything about who Benjamin really was or what he'd been hiding.
We are still looking for Mr. Foster, and we're concerned that he's still up there. Not in your house, but somewhere.
He shouldn't be in the house because between Ren and Rick, they're up there taking care of my dogs.
These interviews didn't lead to much. But the very next day, someone booked a cab from the valley, and there was a reason it got the police's ear to the ground.
A guy who works for a cab company said that he got a phone call requesting a ride. The person that provided the name for the ride was Richard Barron, Tina's neighbor. The cab driver knew that Richard was an older male, and per the cab driver, it was like, this guy did not sound old, so he declined.
But the driver knew about the manhunt, so he immediately called the investigation team. Within minutes, officers swarmed Richard's house, only to walk into a nightmare. Richard and his caretaker, Donald's dead bodies lay on the floor. It seemed they were beaten to death.
We suspect that Ben had broken in and held them hostage while he was there hiding.
They had both violently been beaten. The house had an overpowering odor of gasoline. Both the bodies were covered in wood pellets, and the wood pellet stove was on.
It looked like he was intending on them burning.
Yeah.
But their dangerously insane suspect had left. The investigators then contacted the cab company and found out that when the first driver declined, another was booked shortly after.
Does that look like the guy you gave a ride to?
Didn't have the beard on, but he was a tall guy.
The stature matches.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had driven him back to city of Grants Pass. They even told us that they had dropped this person off near the area of Justine's house where this crime had occurred and described him as having a small white dog with him.
Hello.
Hey.
In a lucky stroke, they discovered a man was picked up from the location and dropped off at another. They believed it was Benjamin, and they were on his track in no time.
Someone told you that our suspect was in the house on Shaneway?
He said something too, like he was walking a dog at like 10 this morning.
Got a photo of the last time he was seen on video. Carhartt, tan-colored jacket, jeans.
Neighbors had seen someone looking like Benjamin, and they knew they were on the right path when they found surveillance footage with him in it. It was diabolical when police found out he was hiding at his victim Justine's place. He was there to enjoy his sick souvenir. Whatever it was, police were closing in, and Benjamin's time was about to run out.
You have shooters on this side. You got a shooter here. You need to get 3 guys here for front door.
Come up front. Everybody scoot back. Go back further, please. Guys, if you can get across the street, please. We need to take the door. We need to open the garage. We need to start clearing with technology and with K9, and we need to knock out this house.
Benjamin Foster, we have a warrant for your arrest. Come out with your hands in the air.
Give me bangs front and rear.
Bang away.
We have a search warrant. Come out with your hands.
But they couldn't catch a glimpse of Benjamin. It was silent inside. If he was in there, he wasn't reacting at all.
We checked all closets and we didn't see him.
He's on foot in the area somewhere if he isn't in there.
Just then, one of the officers proposed a smart alternative approach to force Benjamin out.
What about sending a small team up with the dog, throw the canine in underneath the crawl space?
They started a secondary search outside the residence, and they found an access area underneath the home.
I got movement! I got movement!
Guys, he's under the house looking through the vents.
Get back behind armor. Let's go nice and slow. We got him.
The dog indicated that there was something down there.
He had hidden himself underneath the residence.
Let's get some pepper ball or some sort of munition in that hole.
At that point, we put some chemical agents under there. They used Jackson County's robot and send it in there. The second they send the robots underneath the house, they see bags, clothing, a sleeping bag. And then as they're moving through underneath the space, they see him.
Hey, he's kneeled down. He's looking outside.
They could clearly see their target, and momentarily it seemed that they had him. But what they didn't know was that they were about to encounter the biggest frustration of this case yet.
He starts moving all over the place, and he manages to stay still long enough to see that he's got a pistol in his hand.
Guys, watch the vents. Watch the vents.
One of the robots actually has a speaker that they can use their negotiator to talk through. Never got a response. And then there was a gunshot.
They were never able to catch Benjamin, at least not while he was alive.
He was taken to the hospital, where he died shortly after that.
Benjamin was dead before the law could ever punish him. But what he left behind was far worse. 3 women broken in different ways. Jamie and Amber can finally live in peace, but what everyone didn't know was it wasn't over yet. As miraculous as it was, Justine survived the worst attack against her.
It's been a long road, very long road. I had to learn how to re-walk because my muscles were so atrophied. I was so skinny. I just had my teeth done, goodness, because he punched out all my teeth. So it was just a lot to deal with. I'm very lucky to be here. Sorry.
After it happened, I had nightmares and flashbacks. And the minute I saw Justine at one day and saw her okay, that all just stopped. It was the weirdest thing ever. You know what I mean? Just seeing her whole again, it just stopped. I never dreamed that she would be whole and doing so good again. It's just so awesome. I should have known. She's the strongest, most talented person I've ever met.
Although Benjamin never saw the justice he deserved, he is dead now, and with that, so is the fear of him returning. For Justine, Jamie, and Amber, the nightmare is over. Now there will be no more victims at the hands of Benjamin.
I have a lot of people say to me, oh, he took the easy way out and he killed himself. And I'm like, he's right where he belongs. He's burning in hell.